This one's going to be a bit strange, so don't take it too seriously. It's just a question. This is the Egyptian god called Bes. He's a minor god, considered a warrior god, a protector god, and a god of fertility because he is described as having a large phallus. This is a relief of Bes on a large stone in Egypt. The stone is about 4 feet high. He looks like a thick, hairy man with very large ears and stubby legs. In fact, he's very hairy. Also, you might note that most of Egyptian hieroglyphics face sideways. He's probably the only one that faces forward. His role was to protect a young Horus from his uncle Set, who had already killed and dismembered his father Osiris. Here is a small statue of young Horus, and at the top you can see Bes's head. A few years ago, I was told by a fellow researcher that the placement of Bes's head was meant to represent his height compared to the child Horus. In fact, he told me that Bes was an ancient Sasquatch, a Bigfoot that could talk. As ridiculous as this may sound to some, I considered it for a while. It is true that other ancient cultures had stories of monkey men, like the Hindu god called Hanuman. But unlike Hanuman, Bes does not have a tail. In the older Sumerian culture, in the story of Gilgamesh, there is also a giant man-beast called Enkidu, also described as being very hairy, who became Gilgamesh's best friend since he was strong enough to wrestle him. Also, there is Huwawa, who was defeated by Gilgamesh and Enkidu. What kind of monkey or ape men are these? For comparison, this is a Gigantopithecus, now believed extinct so far as we know. It also has stubby legs, long arms, hairless chest, and it is a giant. There is a bit of a similarity to Bes, but it confused me because the relief of Bes is only 3 or 4 feet high. Okay, let's say he is not a Sasquatch. Let's say he's a dwarf. I dug through ancient Egyptian texts to see if any other creature existed. I found this. In the book called Writings from Ancient Egypt, translated by Toby Wilkinson, there is a letter sent from the dual king Neferkara, also called Pepi II, to a man called Harkuf. Pepi II, a boy king at this time, praised Harkuf for his expeditions, and this letter was inscribed on Harkuf's tomb, which is still legible to this day, almost 4,000 years later. It's rather amazing, don't you think? Speaking of Pepi II, there are 3 ancient resources that point to him being the pharaoh during the time of Moses' youth. I did a video about it called The Pharaoh of Exodus. Check it out if you get a chance. In this inscription, it is described that Pepi II asked Harkuf to bring with him a dancing dwarf from the land of Yam. Quote, "You have said in this message of yours that you have brought all produce great and beautiful, which is given by Hathor, lady of Emau, for the spirit of the dual king Neferkara, who lives forever and ever. You have further said in this message of yours that you have brought a dwarf of the gods' dances from the land of the horizon dwellers, like the dwarf of the god's seal-bearer Bawer Jed, brought from Punt in the time of King Isesi." End quote. But it goes on to say, quote again, "My Majesty wishes to see this particular dwarf more than the produce of Sinai and Punt," end quote. So here in this letter, there is this mention of another dwarf similar to the one that Harkuf was to bring to dance before Pepi II. So, was Bes a dwarf, similar to the line of dancing dwarves that Pepi II saw? Or maybe these dwarves that Pepi II saw were just little people that were dancing. Who knows? Oh, look at that. Here, he's depicted as a giant Sasquatch. Most certainly, he does not look like a normal man. Not whatsoever. Let me know what you think in the comments. I don't have the answer, but the question is the thing. What kind of man was he? Or was he a man? Dwarf? Giant? Or Sasquatch? Without a doubt, ancient history is crazier than fiction. Don't you love it? I do. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.